Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Rinda Beach. She's here to let us know about her brand new book, Lake Fun for You and Me. Speaking of having fun for you and me, have you heard about my live educational magic show called We Will Roar, Respect Others, and Read? I bet you have. If you've listened to the show, you've heard me talk about performing in schools for the past 30 years. Well, that's not happening right now. Probably not for the foreseeable future, but that's okay because I have magically transformed the show that I've been presenting live in front of kids, in front of 5, 6, 7, 1,800 kids. And I've transformed that show to be just as much fun via Zoom and technology. I'm blown away by it. And talk about having fun. I'm really having fun. I'm looking at this as like a new challenge for me, you know? It's like I've been doing live magic shows, and it's been so much fun, and I've been loving it. But now I have the chance to literally travel all over the world, bring this great message of always being respectful of every single person you meet, and also to make sure you take time to read every single day, and bringing that to kids all around the world. And I would love to bring this show to your community. Now, I know that you may not be the principal of your kid's school. You may not be the youth minister or the librarian, but, you know, they are really challenged right now. They have so much going on. They're figuring out how in the world are we going to be able to open up our school? Are we going to be able to open up our schools again? And when we do, what's it going to be like? So they have a lot on their mind. This is a great enrichment program that each and every kid can experience from their homes. And it can happen over the summertime. It can happen in the fall. It's even a great way if you have a group of friends in your neighborhood. It's a great way for you guys to come together and experience a really fun show with a very, very strong and important message together. Please do me a favor. Go to WeWillRoar.com. WeWillRoar.com. Find out about this great show. I would love to see you on my screen and to have you and your family experience my magic. Joining us right now from the great state of Ohio. She is returning to the podcast, and we're so happy to have her back. Today we're going to be talking about her brand new book called Lake Fun for You and Me, a perfect book to read with your kids this summer. Please welcome back to the show, Rinda Beach. Rinda, how are you?
I am wonderful. I'm so glad to be getting outside and getting out to the lake. You know, and this is the perfect time. We've all been cooped up for like 3 months. So people are just anxious to get out, and I think this is the perfect book for them.
Absolutely. Yes, I've been taking hikes. I went on an hour-and-a-half hike today. We have a beautiful wetlands here and wildlife sanctuary right here in beautiful Reedville. And you're right. We're all itching to get out, to do it safely, you know, to make sure that we're not starting the virus up again, but to get out there and to get to the beach and to get to the lake and to just have fun with our family. Because that's what summertime is. It's like family fun time.
Absolutely. In fact, I'll read you the first paragraph from, I wrote a letter to the reader at the beginning of the book. It's also the blurb that's on the back. And I think it tells you exactly what this book is about. Dear reader, this book is part story, part souvenir. Follow Zoe and her family on their lake vacation on the left side of each page. And then on the right side, there's room for you to record your own lake vacation story. And on the right side, I have a cool lake frame for them to put a picture in. They could either draw it, they could do photographs that they take at the lake, or if you find postcards, any of those would work. and then there's room to write about what they see.
I love this. What a great idea. For years and years, one of the things about my educational magic show that I love to celebrate is the fact that it is totally interactive and that kids get involved. And what a wonderful way for a family to really get involved in this book. I want to talk a little bit more about the interactive part of the book, but first, tell us the story behind Lake Fun for You and Me.
How I came up with the idea?
Sure, everything about it.
Sure. Okay, well, I published Neil Armstrong's Wind Tunnel Dream last summer, and I was on the podcast with you, and I thought, I've done all this work to set up a publishing arm for my business, and I thought, why just leave that behind? Why not look for another niche market? And I love the lake. We've been going to Norris for 10 or 15 years. My kids grew up on the lake, and it's so flat during the week. You can learn to water ski. It's just an incredible spot. I think I mentioned some of the animals in the book range from the fish that bite your toes and your legs and your butt to, my husband saw a bobcat sitting on the bank.
Wow.
We have teeny tiny turtles or teeny tiny frogs that hop close to the lake. We've had a turtle friend. We had a snake who left his skin on our step. Occasionally we'll see deer. I mean, it's just like Wild Kingdom down there. And for a city girl like me, it's really cool. So
now we're talking
the
about
other thing that
you were talking about.
Go ahead.
Is it Lake Norris down in Tennessee?
It is. It's just it's a half an hour north of Knoxville, but it's actually from Knoxville. It's about an hour to my lake because I live right on the banks, so it takes an extra half an hour to get back into the woods, into the lake. I mean, I'm living like Wild Kingdom. There are trees everywhere. I mean, huge, tall trees. So it's just an incredible place to be. And the whole lake is like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see a cove with houses, and then you might drive for 5 minutes in your boat and just see trees along the bank. It's just gorgeous, and it's in the Cumberland Mountains, so it's like right next to the Smokies.
That's
wonderful.
So what a beautiful picture you're painting here. It's just incredible.
It is. And along with this story took a couple turns. I wanted to do lake, but I work with 2 different critique groups. And if you want your writing to get better, that's what you have to do. Mm-hmm. And eventually they said, you need to make this more of a story. And then someone said, you need to up the tension because that's all important to keep a kid reading. You need to keep it interesting. Mm-hmm. So I was looking at doing a scavenger hunt, but you'd have to actually bring the things in, and this is a book. So I didn't want little plastic bags of stuff that you'd have to publish. I can't imagine the expense of that.
Yeah.
So instead, we did a treasure hunt, and on each page I'd write a question like, I even used the map because I have a teaching background. I taught 2nd grade for 33 years. So I threw in a map, and I said the legend is the key to the map. And I asked them what they could find looking at a tiny map of our part of the lake. And then on the other side, I told how many points I found. And on the first page, I had already 17 points. And then I had the baby of the family is the main character. So she's not expected to win. But I shouldn't give away who does win because that would give away the key to the book. But she competes against her older brother and sister, and they just have a ball. And I never mentioned the phone in this book except for on the drive, because on the next page I asked them to Google how big the lake is, and I never realized till I did this book how huge it is. Norris is 210 feet deep, 1.2 miles wide, and 206 miles long.
Wow.
And I know my 2nd graders could not imagine that. So I put in the treasure hunt to convert that into football fields, because everybody can picture a football field.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we drive by, we have one here in town just down the street from my house. And so Norris, if you converted it, is 3,625 football fields long and 21 fields wide. And I typed in a question on Google and I came up with that. And then how deep? 70 yards deep on the football field. So you're swimming all but the last 30 yards to the touchdown.
Wow.
To get to the bottom.
Wow.
And most pools are like 10 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even 4 yards.
Well,
so it really helps you get a picture of really how big this is.
Yeah. And I love that attention to detail, because my wife and I we're taking a drive the other day, and we're down this street. We're not down this one street every day, but we're down it maybe once every month and a half, 2 months. And there was a house that had been taken down. And even though we'd driven by this place for years, all of a sudden, now that it was gone, we're having a hard time picturing it, because there's so much that we take for granted. And I love that Lake Fun for You and Me. It kind of starts with, just asking the characters in the book to take a deeper dive and to really get to know their surroundings and to get to know this lake. And I think that's a wonderful thing that families can do this summer. If they're going to, if they typically go to Lake Norris in Tennessee, or Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire, or one of the Great Lakes, just to, get to know a little bit more about that entire ecosphere, instead of just the little piece of it that they visit.
Well, that's the biggest thing that I hoped with this, because if you just focus on Norris, it's only for one lake. Mm-hmm. But by adding in the treasure hunt and then the journal page, I hope it opens it up to other lakes and other vacations families take. And who knows, if you hit a lake every summer, you could buy 5 of my books for 5 years. But it's just such an experience, a family on a lake, and you're out for most of the afternoon. I mean, that's how my kids grew up. And once you get past those pages, you're into water sports. One of my critique partners could not imagine how you wake surf, because that is such a cool picture. I thought that would be the cover photo, but it's one of the tiny ones, because if you can imagine, you are like 2 or 3 feet behind the motor, and those blades could cut up your feet just stepping on them, let alone if the motor's whirling. And you are literally 2 to 3 feet behind it. You're holding a rope, and once you get going, you ride on the waves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Surf's up in the middle of Tennessee. So
yeah. Wow.
Actually, it's eastern Tennessee, which is so cool. Or wakeboarding. I have a picture of that. Or the easiest one for the littles is tubing.
Yep. Yeah,
it's so much fun.
My first experience tubing was in the Caribbean. We're down in Puerto Rico.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and my wife's cousin took us out on the boat, and I got in the tube for the first time, and there I am bouncing around the Caribbean, and all of a sudden I lost my pants.
No.
And so I had to let go of the tube and go, wait a minute, hold on, guys, I gotta find something here.
Have them scout back for it.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that I tried to pull in was a safety issue, because if you have kids on the lake and they're in the water, you want to have that life jacket on. Mm-hmm. I usually don't. But, if you went flipping out of the boat and you hit the water at whatever speed, you may not be able to swim even though you think you can.
Right, yeah.
And the other thing with skiing or wakeboarding or whatever, you always have to have at least 3 people with you, because one is driving the boat, the second one is spotting. Mm-hmm. So if your person goes down, you have to yell right away and the boat spins around to go get you. And if you didn't have somebody spotting, you could go on for a mile or 2 and you're leaving the person stranded in the middle of a lake with boats going by 40 miles an hour, and you're just a little dot.
Yeah.
So, so safety is important.
You bring up a good point, and that's one of the nice things about a book is that, parents can kind of harp over and over. You got to wear a life jacket. You got to wear a life jacket, and it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. But when families are reading this book together and the characters in the book are remembering to wear their safety jacket and remembering and reminding the readers of those safety lessons, it makes more of an impact.
Well, I included that also in the treasure hunt because she had to count how many points she used while she was tubing. And that counted the life jacket. It counted the spotter. It counted all those things.
So tell us more about the choice you made to make this an interactive book. That's very very unique. Where did that inspiration come from?
It came from my critique partners, from just trying to make this story into something that a kid would want. And when I do that, I have to make it into a book that I would want, that I'd want to buy my kids. So the idea from them to add in the characters, to have the characters have something that they're working for, and something that they're winning and losing at, and then from there, someone suggested that I add in the journal part where they keep points. And then from there, it just is like a snowball that just keeps growing. Yeah. It's just, somebody says writing is magic, and it is, because your story kind of leads you where it's supposed to go. Because when I started this, I had no idea this would be the end point. But now that I'm here, I'm wondering where else could I take this, because I've talked to a couple people and they said, oh, this is a series. Take your family on the road. So I'm debating next year if I want to go to if I want to go to, what's the down in the Smokies, the big Gatlinburg. I'm debating about Gatlinburg, or my last name is Beach fun for you and me. And I'm now a new grandmother. So one of the books I definitely want to do is Baby Fun for You and Me, because I met my baby granddaughter through a sonogram. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so much fun. Yeah. And if you make it interactive, you're doing a story for the kid who's reading it, but you're also leaving them behind a story so that if they look at it a year later, they remember those things. I had somebody, I'm in a debut group for 2020 Picture Book Stars, and one of them wrote to me that it reminded her of going to the lake at her grandmother's house. Yeah. I said, well, you should buy it, just so that you can put down those memories so that, if you have a kid, they can read them. And a story is like a magical place where you leave memories behind that you don't want to lose. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking about the book and about the interactive nature of it. You made a joke about, well, you can go to a lake every year and buy a new book every year. But in the reality, if you're going to the same spot every year, that's still something, because every summer is different. And every summer you can write down those memories. And I know, now that my kids are grown and they are married and have significant others, when they come back, very often they'll go downstairs and they'll take those books, those photo albums. These people who are younger out there, photo album is like a book that you put pictures into when we didn't have phones. So they'll take them out and they'll relive those memories. And what a wonderful gift this would be for, a kid who's here in the summer of 2020. Imagine the memories you have the first day. I'm at the beach. I've been locked up in my house for 3 months. And you write down that memory as you're reading Lake Fun for Me and You. And then 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when, your kids have kids and they're saying, what was it like, this pandemic thing that I'm hearing about in class? What was that like? They don't have to remember. They just pull out the book and go, well, this is what I wrote down the first month that we were released from house arrest.
And I was talking to a third grader and a fifth grader. It's so exciting to see kids because they're protected, they're sheltered because they're your most precious things. And they were talking about they miss school, which, I mean, they're third and fifth graders. Usually at that age, they start to be more into their peer group, especially the fifth grader. And they said they miss their teacher, which I was a second grade teacher for 33 years. So, you know, that's my heart moment, that kids do appreciate us, that parents more than ever before appreciate us. And I thought if a parent sees this cover with the lake in the background and 3 little snapshots of things that you do, the best things that you do at the lake, I thought if I were their grandmother, I would buy this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a great price. I mean, for $10, you have a memory book.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be a wonderful way for a family to spend a summer together, reading this book together, sharing memories, writing those memories down, and being able to pull it out a year later, 10 years later, 15, 20 years later. Talk about a memory that will last forever, a gift that keeps on giving.
And you yourself, if you went to a lake with your kids, you could buy my book. And then when they come back, you can all sit around and put the book back together.
Absolutely.
So that when your grandkids read those books, they'll remember what your son did or your daughter did with you back in the day, and they'll want to do the same thing. I also think the other thing it does, I hope the kids don't just like snap right into it. I hope that, because any good writer knows that you want to write down a first draft because it's usually your worst draft. And that's true for pictures. I know somebody who does photo illustrations, and a picture book typically has 32 pages, so at max 32 pictures. I think he took like 1,000 photos to get the ones that he wanted.
Wow.
And I hope that the kids, you know, once you write in it, especially with pen, you know, you're done. You cannot erase it, and the book won't be as pretty. So I hope they take the time to write it down or maybe type it into the computer. I love using Narrator. I don't know if you've used it. When you're in Microsoft Word, and you click on your words and it reads it back to you, and boy, do you hear your mistakes. Or if you change something and you change part of it, but you forget to change like the verb tense, that picks it up right away, and it's so easy. And the best part is that you make the words sound like you talking, because that's what you want. And I thought, you know, what a great thing for a kid to have, to be able to read this book, to be able to write their own story, and then go back to school, because I could always tell which second graders had read over the summer and who didn't, because those who read, they took off that first week, and the rest of the kids, it took them like 2 weeks to get going again. Well, so you want to give your kid a head start.
Yeah, we want to find out where we can find Lake Fun for you and me.
Right now, the best place to find it is Amazon, and you can get it faster than I can, because I ordered just the straight copy that you would buy, and I checked to see if I could order it last week, and I would have gotten it by the end of this week, because I ordered a big number hoping that I'll be able to sell them. I won't get mine until June 5th or 7th. So the absolutely best place to buy it is Amazon.
Excellent. Well, we want everybody to consider picking up a copy of Lake Fun for You and Me by our guest, Rinda Beach. Rinda, thanks so much.
And if I can add one more thing, one more writing tip. If they buy the book and they like it and they'd like to do an honest review, writers love that. It's like dark chocolate for us. And it's one of those things, I mean, a teacher asks you to do a book report. This is just asking you to write like a sentence or two why you liked the book.
Yeah. And it's
I think it's a neat thing to do.
Yeah, it's very, very helpful. And it's great for kids to know that, you know, other families are looking at their writing. It's just not a writing assignment that's a teacher's going to grade and then it's going to maybe go up on the refrigerator for a little while, or right into the trash. This is, their review is going to be online, and families are going to be looking at those reviews and taking those reviews and those ideas into consideration as to what they're going to add to their family library.
Absolutely. I've read reviews where somebody wrote something and I went, I don't think I want to buy that book. Or I read another review and I go, I have to have that book. I have to. And, your words, that's another thing that kids should realize. Their words really do make a difference.
Absolutely.
They matter.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, we've had so much fun speaking to Rinda Beach. Rinda, thanks so much for being back with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure, and I hope I have something ready for you next May or June.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Claire Hallinan. She will be back to the show to tell us all about Where My Breath Loves Me, a great book about mindfulness, teaching our kids how to be mindful. It's a really, really important skill that our kids can have in this really uncertain time. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the show. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic book. Please go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button that you'll find at the bottom of the page. Let us know about your great book. We will let you know the next easy steps. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to start off by thanking our guest, Rinda Beach. Please be sure to check out Lake Fun for you and me. Also want to thank my incredible team, starting with my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my awesome author ambassador, Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. But most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.